Welcome, everyone. It's Chris from Embodying Light, and thanks for joining. This is your Crystal Conscious Oracle for the collective for the week of December 15th to the 21st. So, hopefully, everyone is doing well during these changing and shifty, but always transformational energies. So, this week, we have a new crystal resonance that's stepping forward to work with us. And just remember that each crystal that comes up each week, it ties into each other, and you'll begin to see the theme of how we're being shifted as a collective through the crystal resonance and the crystal energies. So, the crystal that is stepping forward to work with us this week is crocite. So, crocite is a crystal that not a lot of people traditionally work with. Mainly in its physical form, crocite is quite pricey, so sometimes it makes it harder for it to be readily available to everyone. So that's one reason why it's not commonly used in healing work and practices. But remember that you can obtain the physical crystal, or you can connect to the crystal energy resonance and call that crystal, call that energy into your energy field to work with you, and its presence will step forward. So that's one way that you can work with crystals as well if you don't physically have that crystal. But no, its crystalline structure and its resonance is interacting not only just with our energetic field, but also with the planetary grid as well, to facilitate growth and healing at this time. So, what I'm going to talk about, and I took a lot of notes for crocite this week. What I want to talk about is how crocite works, first of all, like through our physicality or our physical bodies. So, crocite resonates strongly with our lower chakra. So, our root chakra, our sacral chakra, and our solar plexus chakra. And crocite is the energy resonance that it carries is that of passion. And passion can be a creative and a destructive force. And as I'm saying this, like Kali came up, Kali Ma, so the goddess Kali Ma. And she's very, very fierce and formidable energy to work with. Um, she's a destructive force, a destructive, fiery force. But I feel like sometimes with Kali, people, when they work with her, can be afraid of her. And she doesn't want us to fear her. She wants us to understand that anything she's kind of moving out of the way, she's trying to clear so we can step into our power and be fierce. Um, and that's what that energy of crocite is. It's a very fierce, it's a very intense, it's a very passionate energy. And when we talk about passion, there's a duality to passion when we talk about its resonance, because passion can bring pleasure, and it can bring pain as well. And not just referring to just intimacy or sexuality, but you know that passionate energy can be channeled, because remember, this energy is fire. This energy can be channeled into things, and it create beautiful, like really beautiful things. Fire can create, but if the energy behind it is destructive energy, then it can destroy a whole lot. It can destroy a lot, and we see that in our world. It's like when there is greed or envy put behind our kind of motivations, and that energy is wielded out into the world to create it. It's quite a destructive force. What I like about crocite is that it forces us to question and evaluate our motivations. So when we're dream weaving, when we're creating, when we're manifesting, in the world. What is behind that? What is the driving force behind that creation? And we have to remember that our energy resonance is really important. So if there is love and beauty and light behind what we're trying to bring forth or create, then that resonance will carry and that vibration will carry throughout the creative process and the manifestation of such. But if it's the other way around, if it's something like greed or envy or, malicious energy, then that resonance, that fire energy is going to carry a destructive force. It may not only be harmful and destructive to others and people in the world, but that energy that's being put out is also destructive to yourself. The sender of the energy or the creator of that energy doesn't escape the energy that's being wielded by their own hands. So what I thought was interesting and that I want to note, so in Atlantean times, Atlanteans were predominantly known for being exceptionally skilled and gifted in working with crystals. So I work predominantly with Atlantean resonance. I've had past lives in Atlantis. So the crystalline name that Crocite chooses to be recognized as is Ulu Ra'el. And it was interesting because sometimes when I do the Crystal Conscious Oracle, I will use the true crystal name, Atlantean name, and sometimes I won't. But in this case, Crocite wanted me to bring that forward. And it was interesting because as I was kind of writing it down and bringing it forward, I was like, where have I seen Ulu, the first prefix of it? And when I really pulled that together, the third chakra planetary grid point is in Australia, and it's called Uluru, which I thought was interesting because it resonates with the solar plexus, empowerment. So I thought that was a very interesting synchronicity. And another interesting story as it relates to Uluru is there's a story, an Aboriginal story, about two tribes of ancestral spirits, and they were invited to a feast by, they called it the Sleepy Lizard. And all of the leaders of the ancestral tribes showed up and the women didn't show up. So the Sleepy Lizard was very upset and angered by this. So the Sleepy Lizard spoke an evil song or sang an evil song into like some clay sculptures or mud rocks, depending on what version of the story you hear. But that sculpture came up and it battled the leaders of the tribes, and there was like massive bloodshed. And in response to that happening, the earth, just in her kind of in mourning of that bloodshed, rose up and formed the rock or the platform Uluru. She responded to that trauma. So I thought that was like a really interesting story because it shows how when we look at the energy we put into things, or the energy that's behind things, it has the power to be loving and passionate and creative, or it can be destructive. And in that story, it was a destructive energy, and we see that like just in the earth healing herself, and trying to respond to that, and kind of, it's like the earth shape-shifting in a sense, trying to respond to that trauma and the changes that are happening because of a vibrational resonance on the planet. We see that happening now, where the collective energies on the planet are creating a situation where our great mother, our mother earth, is trying, she's tried for such a long time to shift and to maintain a balance, but she's very wounded. You know, she's very wounded, and she's um, very damaged, and she's in her ascension period. She's ascending to the fifth dimensional realm. So this is why we see a lot of planetary shifts happening. Um, you know, earthquakes, the hurricanes. There's, I've been saying for probably about a month and a half, I feel like there's going to be a volcanic eruption um, somewhere on the planet. Um, I think this is going to probably happen in the next 3 to 4 months. Um, but I haven't really tapped into that and connected with that energy and that resonance yet. But there is something that is going to happen that is by fire, and we've already started seeing again like the appearances of different like fires, like the fires that are in LA and California. You know, we're starting to see like fire type incidents and stuff kind of occurring. So when we're talking about crocite, we're still talking about an energy where we're talking about transformation. And especially with crocite, we start dealing with the energy resonance within ourselves where we may have been disempowered. This could be allowing others to kind of take our energy, or allowing others to define our self-worth or our value. And this is really about taking our power back. The thing about crocite is, and I made a notice that made a note of this, excuse me. Crocite's a powerful stone of passion and creative expression. Its energy is very physical, and it's primal in the way that it synergistically employs expression, especially of like feminine power through the masculine energy. So it's kind of like its main energy is a creative force, feminine energy. It's a feminine life force, but she uses the masculine energy as a means to employ or to manifest and utilize that energy. So in this dynamic, we have the masculine and the feminine energy working together in unison and in harmony, which is beautiful, and union. And kind of off subject, but not, a message that's coming through is that this dynamic is going to create a lot of shifts and transformations in twin flame unions. So we're going to start to see, especially after the holiday season, I would say up into March of 2018, we're going to start seeing a lot of twin flames come into union, and it's going to happen in different waves. There's going to be we're kind of in the energy of like the first wavers, and then it's going to be second wave, third waves, but I don't want to get really far into the twin flame energies, but that's something that just came up. But this energy of crocite, it carries fire and into spaces that we also need to clear out and transform and transmute. So excuse me, can't get the word out. It corrects imbalances when it comes to your personal power, your self-worth, so that the creative energy can be restored. Your personal power can be restored after distress. So I think, especially last week with labradorite, it pushed us, labradorite pushed us to move into a space of self-inquiry, to start asking questions, to go within the self. This brought a lot of us in a space of kind of just solitude and meditation and kind of slowing down. You may have found yourself very, very tired last week, just trying to assimilate these energies. But labradorite helped us gain perspective and clarity regarding on how we're creating our own suffering, how it's our energy that has created our environment and our universe and our world on a collective level. And so crocite comes in, and all those spaces where, you know, we were empty, that we were drained and siphoned from other people or our own energy and our own thought forms and the things that we tell ourselves about ourselves, which created it created a resonance. It creates entities that attach to us, so it creates more of that energy, and then we attract external energy or that like energy to us. But what crocite's doing is helping us to restore. So it's like we're starting to nurture ourselves. We're starting to love ourselves more. But it's helping to restore our personal power and fill ourselves with true forms of self-worth, true forms of self-love. So we're not looking for that energy from outside sources. We're finding it in its authenticity from within. Crocite's really effective also for people who, you know, I'll use one example. Like if you have been in a very emotionally or physically abusive relationship, that's something that has diminished your, not only just the love that you have for yourself, but your sense of worth in your personal power. You're giving that power away to the other person. So that's someone that may feel very disempowered on a very, very deep level. So crocite helps to transmute that that dense energy and moves that energy out so the person can heal, and it brings fire in. It brings like almost like this wild woman fiery energy in. It makes you feel alive again, and that's what I like about crocite. It's like if you've been going through life feeling like a sense of lack, or you know, kind of lost or without a sense of purpose, or you haven't really been able to create or harness a lot of things, crocite comes in and it like literally ignites a fire inside of you. It's like you just turn on, and it's just like this is what we need to cultivate in people in the collective, because and I'm going to get in, where I'm getting into now is some cards that I pulled in connection with crocite. And so what I'm getting into here is it ignites the fire. It ignites the passion in us again. So how crocite is working for us, and just let me tap in here again, because I pulled some cards for the energies of crocite and what it's helping us see, and what the lesson is, and how we can grow from working with crocite. So let's see, because I took notes too earlier. So all right, let me get this all organized here. All right, so I decided to pull some cards just to get some more clarity on how crocite was going to be working with us to help correct some of the imbalances and kind of get a little bit more insight as to what's going on. So 6 cards came up. So I kind of tapped into the energies, and they kind of came together in pairs. So the first energy pairs that came up are the Temperance in reverse and the 8 of Wands. So with this pair, So let me show the Eight of Wands again. So with the Eight of Wands, I feel like we're being guided to go on this deep inner journey. This is literally the card of like, it's time to go down the rabbit hole. But we're going down the rabbit hole to find the truth about ourselves. We're going to meet the dark aspect of ourselves. I've been calling this the dark angel card lately, because we are dark angels. We're also light angels, and we have to learn to love and embrace all aspects of ourself and nurture all aspects of ourself without judgment. So this is, and if you can see, this is a Sagittarian based card. And this card depicts this energy as Mercury in Sagittarius. So this is still energy we're experiencing in retrograde. We're getting messages from our guides, from our higher self, that's saying it's time to take a look at your own energy and go within in your own resonance and really see yourself, to really face yourself in full truth and authenticity. So it's time to go down into the lower world, go into the underworld and face yourself. And if you could see this woman, she's going down, you know, into the abyss. Essentially, she's carrying a lion with her, because this requires a tremendous amount of courage, but she's taking this journey, you know. And this could also be soul retrievals. People could also be experiencing dark night of the souls at this time. I feel like, again, this twin flame thing is coming up. The masculine energy, or whoever in twin flame relationships carries the masculine energy, I feel like the masculine energy could be experiencing a dark night of the soul. But we all, regardless of twin flame energy or not, we carry masculine and feminine energy. So the masculine component of ourselves is experiencing this kind of shadow work, shadow energy. So again, this is a good time to do any type of past life regression work, soul retrieval, or just deep internal reflection and shadow work. So, you know, if you have access to someone or a healer that does that type of work, it's definitely favored during this week, during this time, to really get some insight into your shadow self. Because when we talk about our shadow self, we're talking about unconscious energy, the things that we can't see, that are underlining our energy, that are acting out in our conscious life without us really being aware of why we are a certain way, why we do things a certain way, why we, you know, attract certain relationships or carry different psychological patterns. When we go in and we face and we meet our shadow self, the shadow aspects of ourselves, it's like we take a light down in there to illuminate it so we can see what's going on. And it's like, it's this deep analysis, and it's almost like this energetic surgery in a sense. It's like when we go in and do this, we start finding the root causes of a lot of things in our lives that we didn't understand, that we may have always wanted answers to. So this is an opportunity for profound healing. With the temperance in reverse, though, because the temperance is normally about balance. Kind of not doing things in excess, like and how I'm feeling with the temperance in reverse is a lot of people on the collective level are refusing to and what kind of came through is refusing to kind of take the medicine that your higher self or your soul is trying to give you. And it's literally, it's like, you know, the expression where sometimes it's the poison that helps us or presents us the medicine. And that's how I feel with this journey. that's how I feel with this journey here. It's like when we go down here into the abyss, it's like we're going in and we're tasting the poison of ourselves, the poison of our own making, of our own creation. And in experiencing that, we are going to come back out of this. We're going to come out of this with the medicine. We're going to come back with the cure. We're going to come back to with the remedy. So the next set of cards, moving further into this, we have the Sun and we have the Eight of Swords. So, you know, we get down in our basements and we confront ourselves. And for a lot of people, this is going to be deep inner child healing. You know, we have the Sun here. It's the highest energy card in the deck. This is illuminating deep patterns, psychological patterns. We're finding fragments of ourselves from our inner child, things we like suppressed and repressed and hid away because it was very traumatic or too painful. We could also find things that have happened to us as a result of like programming and mind control down here. So this is going to be intense illumination of these things. So it's really important when you're doing this work to number one, protect your energy. Number two, love yourself. Love yourself regardless of whatever you find in all of those spaces. Because remember, what the Eight of Swords is teaching us is that we've created these traumas. We've created these wounds as a result of what we tell ourselves about these things. We can experience a heartbreak. We could, you know, be victims of domestic, you know, abuse or violence, or we could have, you know, had some other, you know, intense traumas in our lives. But they're just things that happen to us. They only defined us if we put a definition on it. If we have a relationship and, you know, someone is very harmful and very toxic to us, that's their energy. That has nothing to do with your energy. But if you decide that you want to accept their energy as your own, then you may say, I'm not good enough. And, you know, the reason why this person treated me like that is because something's wrong with me and I'm not lovable and no one will ever love me. So now you create an entity for yourself. You are wounding yourself because you're defining yourself by someone else's energies. So down in this journey, in this basement, we start to see how it wasn't anyone else outside of ourselves that wounded us or hurt us. The most damage that we've done is the damage that we've done to ourselves by the things that we've told ourselves about ourselves. And if you can see all these swords, they're like all over different aspects of the person. This person is wounded by things that have happened to them in the physical world, or even that this can also be like societal beliefs. You know, this could be, there's fear, because we're covering so much energy here. This could be fears, or, you know, not feeling secure in the world. This could be, you know, I'm not enough, I don't deserve love, and disempowerment. It's so many different levels and different energies that can impact a person. And these are all densities. These are all energies that we are working to release so we can lighten up. Because the Sun card, this is the inner child that is healed. The inner child is ready to be healed because there's gifts that lie here. There are pure, unadulterated gifts from the divine that were given to us as our birthright that lie here. And in order for us to move fully into our past, into our potential, and access the full scale of our blueprint, we have to clear this energy out. We have to face ourselves. We have to go down in this basement, and we got to go find ourselves. We got to go get those missing parts. And in order to do that, we have to face how we've been poisoning ourselves, how it's us that have made ourselves sick. And in understanding and finding that, now we're able to create the medicine so that we heal. And then we also had the Three of Pentacles and the Six of Pentacles in reverse. So for me, this energy was really about one, doing what it's important to do, what you're passionate about or what you feel in your heart. This is allowing your heart to become the compass, and this is also about not holding on too tightly to worldly things as well. This goes back to also from a physical or external perspective of how we define ourselves. We've become so accustomed to defining ourselves by societal beliefs, or more in this energy, this is about us assigning value to material things, whether it be cars or clothes or houses or shoes, and this is like a false sense of worth and happiness. And this is about realizing, this is releasing ourselves from, this tree reminds me of, I call it the society tree. And what came up when this card came out was the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So it's if this tree is the world tree, that's in order for you, it's the commercials we see on TV, the luxury cars and different stuff. It's just the world tells you, if you don't drive this car, if you don't wear this shoe, if you don't do these things, then you're average, or you're somehow not good enough, or that sort of energy. So it's the world or the collective has bought into this energy. So it's the collective energy is the tree, and it's each individual is the apple on the tree that stays close by this energy, because this is how you've been conditioned. This is how you've been conditioned. But this energy is about you taking a stand, and you healing yourself, and you defining what is important and what is of value to you, and building with the energy of crochet, building a true sense of self-worth and empowerment, and allowing your heart to speak through you, allowing your higher self to speak through you as you create the life that you desire, as you express your gifts, and you make your mark on the world. So another note that I made, and I just turned back in my notes and I kind of skipped over it, but a few things. Crochet is basically creating a transformation within us on a deep level, because a lot of people are being activated into mission. There are massive planetary shifts that are happening, and it's preparing people to transition into action here, because we are starting to shift into 5D energies, heart-based energies, instead of the mental based energies or the mental based world and society of the 3D energy, which is crumbling rapidly. We see the matrix like breaking down in the 3D world. And we can see that mainly happening again, like in politics and predominantly in Hollywood right now, with a lot of the various things that are going on. Another thing when we talk about crowsight, when we were talking about, empowerment as well earlier, like, remember that crowsight helps to employ expression of feminine power through the vehicle of the masculine energy, because the masculine is the active energy. The masculine energy creates the movement. It's a vehicle through which the feminine energy is expressing herself. So when, even on a collective level, if, our energy is being siphoned, especially the densest energies that we carry are our lower chakras, our root chakra, our sacral chakra, and our solar plexus. And it's the most heavily siphoned energy centers that we have. They are the energy centers that reside in the 3D. So it's easy for those energies to be manipulated by malevolent forces to disempower people. And especially when we talk about the energy of crowsight and this feminine energy, we see that played out by the domination of, the masculine template, the masculine energies that have been elevated, and the feminine energies that which have been suppressed. And that's why we see a lot of like the feminine energy is rising again to take reign. It's like literally I just seen like two thrones next to each other, and there's a king and there's a queen there. These energies work together. They don't work separately. It's like the world has been functioning on like, there's just a king up there. That's it. Very ego driven, very a lot of aggression, very ego-centric energy that we've seen that has been dominating our planet for a very, very long time. So in order for the other forces to keep that in play, they've had to manipulate the feminine energies. And that happened with the destruction of Lemuria. And that was a main way that they basically wiped out a lot of a huge feminine lineage society in Lemuria. You have the distortion of, even in the Bible, the distortion of making Eve look like she is the bad person. That story is a manipulation energy because it's not a true story. But it was created and it was intersected into the Bible to create a distortion of feminine energy. But we see it even play out where now in our world where, women don't get fair wages. And a lot of sexual disempowerment of women in society. Like, look at our music videos, look at, reality shows. Like, there's women pretty much naked on TV. And they put those images and they put that conditioning out there so that women feel like they need to dress like that or maybe act like that or be that way to feel of value. Like they have to sell themselves to have things or have some sense of worth, or it's just very degrading. And then to have that, be an energy that's projected on the world platform, those projections are also impacting our little girls that are coming up, that are so impressionable, because they're developing and they're, trying to understand their world. And it's like those impressions and that resonance, it strips their innocence away from them. It's happened to us. We've experienced it. That this is why we're going down here to go get ourselves back, because we've been stripped of our innocence too. Maybe in a different way than it's impacting a little bit of how, the children and the little girls are being affected today, but it's still the same entity monster, and it's been the same entity monster for eons. It's been siphoning the energy of women, and this is being done and this is being manipulated in this way because women are powerful. And this is not to say, and when I make that statement, this isn't about men being better than women or women being better than men. It's about being equals. It's about working together. And it's in that feminine energy rising and coming into empowerment and owning that energy and coming in with that fire. Like, that's very powerful energy. Remember, feminine energy is the creative life force energy. And if that feminine energy comes up and people realize how powerful they are, because we are creators and we co-create with source, with the prime creator, with God, whatever resonates with you, that we realize that it's like the revolution that happens. Everyone starts stepping into their power, into their gifts. They act from their heart, and it's like the matrix system crashes. And that's what's happening. People are waking up and the system is starting to crash because light is winning. Light is winning. And the more people are turned on and the more people heal, when you face yourself, you heal the planet, because your energy, when you turn on, impacts the grid. And each person that turns on starts to shift the grid. Those changes start to happen. And we all have gifts and we activate and we trigger each other. The videos that I do activates and triggers people. The messages that not only just myself but other starseeds, other light workers put out there are meant to activate and trigger people, because it's time for people to wake up and to step into their power and really see what is going on in our planet. I can't stress enough that it's time to remember why we're here and what we're here to do. So hopefully that resonated with you guys. And don't be afraid to face yourself. Remember, one thing that did come through when I was taking notes is what will be really helpful for you to work with in conjunction with crocite will be black obsidian and rose quartz. More importantly, because black obsidian helps us to go in and to see all of the shadow aspects of ourselves. And it can be very, very intense. So when you're doing this work, just make sure you work with rose quartz, so that you're carrying that energy and that vibration of unconditional love with you. Because when you're doing this type of healing work, this deep healing work with yourself, it's important to love yourself again, regardless of whatever it is that you find. It could be something that you did that may be really embarrassing, or that may make you feel ashamed. But what Spirit is saying is, don't feel ashamed. Those things do not define who you are. They are just experiences. Experiences are not who you are. They're only teachers. So it's important to nurture yourself and accept. Just as we accept love and beauty and light, we also have to accept the darker energies too, because they're still a part of who we are, because they are teachers. That poison is what is teaching us to create our own medicine for healing. And when we understand these concepts and we begin to heal and we surrender to this, because there's a huge energy where we need to just surrender to this process instead of like fighting tooth and nails. You know, if we want to achieve this freedom, if you want to liberate yourself, free your mind from all of this energy in the matrix system, you have to surrender and you have to do this work. You have to go within. So love yourself in all of those spaces and be strong. You can do this. Pray, meditate, ask your guides, ask your angels for help. If this, again, it becomes very intense, still love yourself in those spaces. If it's really difficult for you to work through these energies, you know, don't be ashamed if you have to employ, you know, getting a therapist or a counselor or, you know, a spirit coach, or just, you know, talking to someone that you really trust. But know that you are strong enough to, you know, get through these energies. And, you know, there's such a reward. There's such a reward on the other side of this. This is profound. This is a leveling up. This is, to me, this is ascension energies. This is moving into a higher dimension. Your energy being calibrated differently. This is unlocking so many doors, so many gifts. To me, this energy is like the Holy Grail. And as I close out, because the Holy Grail, that tied so perfectly together, because the Holy Grail came up, I want to read a message to you from Crowsight. Mine is the domain of passion. Take my hand. See a red flame above your crown. Call it down to the base and feel the serpent stir. Let an erupting column of fire towards the crown be my welcome of your rediscovery and embrace of me. Let us create. Expression of perfection and feminine power through the masculine avenue is my domain. I stimulate the animal and primal nature of humanity, which is too easily lost in modern life. I am love expressed as instinct. Feel me run through you. I am the breath in the lion's roar. Together now, hand in hand, as serpents intertwined, let the earthly gift of co-creation be your guiding light to eternal happiness and joy. Embrace your creative spark and live, for only those that express pure passion will knowingly hold the Holy Grail and swim in its sacred waters. So thank you for joining, and I will see you next week for the Crystal Conscious Oracle for the Collective. And if you would like a personal crystal conscious reading for your own energy and your resonance and the journey that you're going through currently, you can email me, of course, at intheroughcrystals@gmail.com. So thanks for joining again, guys, and many, many blessings and light and healing to you on your journey.